Good afternoon. I'm Dave May, and I'm the Chief Security Officer here at CenturyLink, and it's my pleasure to introduce our third presenter for this afternoon. I'd like to introduce Jim Shea. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for First Insight, that provides the world's leading predictive analytics platform, empowering retailers and brands to introduce the right products at the right price. Jim's career as a tech marketing leader has taken him from Silicon Valley to Washington, D.C., to Pittsburgh, across several industries, including medical devices, research laboratory products, telecommunications, and enterprise software. Jim has been a driving force behind the IPOs of two private equity-backed technology companies, and he has also led a Fortune 500 marketing organization. Jim holds an MBA from Stanford University and a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Notre Dame. Jim, welcome.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you everybody for coming this afternoon. How many of you have seen something similar to this? Does this look familiar? I see some women raising their hands. Come on, guys, you've seen this, right? Okay, so as consumers, this is a great sign, right? 60% off, 70% off, products on clearance. We're getting a great deal. Some of us actually look for this and won't buy anything until it's marked down to this level, right? Well, if you're a retailer, this is actually a big problem. In fact, it's a $300 billion a year problem across the retail industry. And what is the problem? The problem is bad products. These are products that either nobody wanted to begin with, or products that were overpriced and had to be marked down in order to clear them out. And Gartner and others have said that in the world of retail, over 50% of new products fail. They fail in their first year. A lot of money is being spent on those products you just saw and across the retail industry, and we have a 50% failure rate. Now, the flip side of that problem is products that sell out very quickly. So we as consumers see this when we go to look for a product that somebody told us was available in a store. We go there and there's no more available. So stockouts actually represent another $350 to $400 billion a year problem across the retail industry. And for retail CEOs, this is actually an even bigger problem than the excess inventory problem. Why? Because it's missed opportunity, it's missed upside. So for those of you that aren't familiar with how retail new product decision making works, which is probably most of you, I want to give you a quick 30-second primer. New products start out in design. So if in a fashion retailer, designers will go to runway shows, they'll go to Paris, Milan, New York, Asia. They'll look for inspiration from those shows. If you're a designer in a hard goods company, a sporting goods company, let's say, you may be designing product that will be a private label product to replace a branded product, let's say. So designers have a lot of freedom, and their job is to come up with design concepts. And they turn those concepts over to a buyer, so a merchant within a retailer. And that merchant's job is to select them from among a candidate set of designs and decide what products ultimately go in the store. Their job is also to decide, along with the planners, what the quantities are that are going to get bought that will go into those stores. At some point along the way, prices are set, and prices are typically set based on looking at some historical data. They're also based a little bit on looking at the competitive set and what they may be charging for similar items. But a lot of times prices are set in retail purely based on cost. Retailer will say, I need to make X margin. I'm going to mark up the products above cost just to hit my margin target. There isn't really a lot of consumer data that goes into the setting of prices for new products. So most of these products these days, as we know, are manufactured in Asia, so there's a lag time between when the products are ordered and priced and when they actually show back up in the U.S. They arrive on a boat, typically from Asia, back to the U.S., and the planning and allocation people within the retailers will allocate them out to the stores. So kind of an oversimplified version of how retail works, but there it is. Now, why would this result in 50% of products failing every year? Seems like a fairly simple process. Well, the reason is that predicting the future is hard. And if it's this hard for a Nobel laureate in physics, you know it's going to be hard for a designer or a merchant. Those designers are working on new products typically a year before we see them in the stores. And again, in the world of fashion, apparel, footwear, trends change very quickly. So what's the likelihood they're going to hit a trend appropriately a year in advance when the trends change that quickly? So we at First Insight set out to solve that problem. And our CEO was a retail merchant, Greg Petro. He was with a number of different retailers. He saw this problem firsthand, that merchants were guessing a lot on new products, didn't have any data. And he also then went on to work for a retail technology company and then realized that technology could be applied to solve this problem. So he founded First Insight back in 2007, and we're now the world's leading company, helping retailers and brands select the right new products and introduce them at the right price. We're a cloud-based solution provider. So before I tell you how we do it and how big data enters into all this, I want to talk about this game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? How many of you remember this game show, familiar with it? Okay, a number of you. For those of you that aren't, the way this worked is, as a contestant, you would get progressively more difficult questions, and you would have 4 possible answers for each one of these questions. If you got stuck, you could walk away, take the money, whatever you'd earned up until that point, or you could choose one of 3 lifelines. You could take the 50-50, which is they would remove 2 of the wrong answers and you'd guess among the remaining 2. You could phone a smart friend at home, or you could just poll the audience. So which of these 3 lifelines do you think was the most effective over the entire lifetime of the show? I hear poll the audience. Well, you're actually right. So the lifeline of 50-50 was about 50% accurate. Phoning a smart friend, a little better, 65%, but polling the audience, believe it or not, 91% of the time. So what this speaks to is the wisdom of crowds and the idea of crowdsourcing, which has become very popular now, the idea that large groups of people and aggregating data from decentralized viewpoints and independent viewpoints can often give a better answer than the single smartest person in the room. So we knew, Greg Petro, when he founded the company, knew he wanted to leverage the wisdom of crowds somehow in determining how new products would perform from a forward-looking perspective. But we wanted to do better than a simple polling of the audience. So what we did was we created a set of algorithms to mine data from large groups of people to find groups of people that can give better answers than even just the crowd as a whole. And let me explain what I mean. Let's say you were running a retailer that was selling women's dresses. And let's say those dresses were targeted to women ages 35 to 45 that were fairly affluent, let's say making over $100,000 a year. Well, logic would tell you I would send out some type of a poll to women that met that demographic and try to get feedback on what types of new products would be successful, new dresses. The challenge there is that some women who meet that demographic criteria are going to give you really good input and are going to understand that category and be good predictors of what's going to happen next season or next year. Others are not. Okay, they just happen to fit the demographic. So what we set out to do was find those women that really understand that category and are going to give the retailer good input. And then the other thing, if you just sent out a survey or a poll to women that meet that demographic, the types of people you'd be leaving out are guys like this, who aren't women at all, much less that age group or income level. But these gentlemen and others like them are designing dresses for women and arguably would be some of the best people to go ask what the women's trends for dresses are going to be like next season or next year. So what we wanted to do was find a crowdsourced algorithm and method for finding those women who are good predictors and just in general people that are good predictors of what's going to happen in the future. So that's what we've done at First Insight. So we have a relatively simple 4-step process that we call an insight, and it leverages the wisdom of crowds and it also leverages predictive analytics. The first step is the retailer or the manufacturer will select the items that they're interested in getting consumer feedback on. And these can be CAD designs at a very early stage or even a sketch. They can be images of sample products. They can be all types, any type of product from hard goods to apparel, footwear, what have you. And the images and descriptions and target price points for those products get uploaded into our system. It's very quick, very easy. And then our system creates consumer engagements. What we decided was we wanted to find a way to get authentic feedback from consumers and enable the retailer to get authentic feedback from consumers. And rather than send out a kind of a boring survey, we created online games. So we use gamification. So it's a way for a retailer, for example, one of our customers, Abercrombie and Fitch, another one, The Limited. These companies send out these games to their customers, and it's an invitation to get a glimpse into what we're thinking about for next season or next year from a new product perspective, and give us feedback. So those games can be distributed through mobile, email, Facebook, social media methods, etc., and they're typically pretty quick and easy to play. So in a span of 48 hours, 72 hours at the most, we will get enough data from enough consumers, it's coming back to our website, that our models become predictive and we're able to forecast which products will be successful, and even more importantly, which ones are going to be unsuccessful and which ones to eliminate from the assortment. The analytic models, the way this works is interspersed in these games, along with candidate products that the retailer is thinking about and wants to get feedback on, we're going to add some items that have known outcomes. So the best dress from last season or last year, the worst dress from last season or last year. And we call those marker items or reference items. And consumers that are more accurately able to identify those as good and bad correctly, then we assess that that consumer really understands this category. And that's how we find the Tommy Hilfiger and the experts within the crowd who will give us good feedback. So what we're doing here is kind of separating the signal from the noise in the feedback that we get. And then finally, again, it's very quick. Within 2 days, typically, we have the data that's available back to the retailer. So a retail merchant or a designer, buyer, planner will log into our system and get all kinds of data. They'll first and foremost get product ranking data on which products are going to succeed and which ones won't. We'll forecast at what price these products will sell. We have a price elasticity curve for a new product. We're the only company in the world that can generate a price elasticity curve for a product that has never been sold. And there's comments that come back, so we use a word scoring, word cloud technique, and some analytics applied to the words and phrases that people are saying when they're talking about these products through our games, and that's aggregated up. And so we're figuring out what are the top things people really like about this product, and what are the things that people don't like about it. So we're here to talk about the title of the talk is Driving Real Retail Results. I want to share some retail results with you. We have a number of customers, and this one is a jewelry retailer, one of the nation's largest jewelry retailers. And as you might imagine, if you buy a diamond ring that's wrong and customers don't like it, that mistake's going to sit with you for a long time in your inventory. So what we did for this customer was we helped them identify winners and losers and actually doubled the number of winning products for them. And in the course of that, over 1 year, they gained $7 million in margin. They measured that. And in fact, when we generate our contracts with our customers, we guarantee our results at the dollar or euro level. We have a customer that's one of the largest bridal retailers actually in the world, and their challenge was forecast accuracy. So their forecasting of winners as well as their forecasting of buy quantities was fairly low. And they were doing a lot of in-store testing, which is fairly common among retailers. They will test candidate new products in their stores for several months, decide which ones will succeed or fail based on that, and then make their buys based on those results. Well, that process for this company led to a relatively low forecast accuracy rate. We increased that rate through our system, which is quick, easy, and a lot cheaper, by 20%. And their time to market went down by 35%. It was about 3 months that we took out of their product development process. We have a customer that's one of the nation's largest accessory and handbag manufacturers and retailers. And they wanted to get into a whole new category that they had never been in before. So they used our solution to test a number of product categories and determined that the baby product category would be the best one and their brand would extend the best into that category. Then they used our solution to test many, many new products for the baby category. We identified a number of products that could bear a higher price than they originally thought, and we increased their sales by 4% over their original plan based on that. One of the world's largest shoe retailers and manufacturers increased the price due to our data on a single item by 20%, $500,000 incremental margin. So it doesn't take too many better decisions to move the needle. So we're working internationally as well, actually with retailers that have stores in up to 30 countries. And we help our customers assort by country. So for one French-based retailer, they were able to yield a €3 million margin gain in just 6 months. And since we're here to talk about big data, we see a lot of data. So we have a really interesting purview because we're testing 3 million data points a month through our solutions. So we see lots of product categories across lots of different retailers. And we can draw some interesting conclusions and aggregated viewpoints on what's going on in the retail industry. One of those things is that 11% of products on average are underpriced. So these are products that can bear a higher price point. And so when we engage with a retailer, we'll tell them that we will find 10 or 11% of your products that can bear a higher price, and we'll tell them which ones those are. One interesting stat, and maybe this isn't a surprise, men are 2.5 times more likely to pay full price for a product than women. Wasn't a surprise to me because when I shop, I go in a store and look for what I want, get it, and leave, and don't really price shop too much. This is probably a generalization, but it's actually true. Men are 2.5 times more likely to pay full price than women based on the products that we see. So I'll end with a quote from Yogi Berra about predicting the future, and that's all I have to share with you today. Thank you very much. Told me I couldn't take questions. Sorry. You can see me in the back for questions if you like.